Hello guys and welcome, and a belated Merry Christmas, and already at this point a good year 2023. So it's time for a state of the collection video. It's overdue and a lot of things have changed, and yes, I want to show you what's there. And I like to begin with this box here, and I invite you to grab a cup of coffee and yes, enjoy the time between Christmas and New Year. So let's start with this box. It consists basically out of Japanese watches. Let's start with the obvious, my favorite brand, Seiko. And the watch I have actually the longest in here, there were a lot of changes, is this one. It's the SPB 103, the green Sumo, the Hulk Sumo. It's a beautiful watch. I like this case. It's really interesting. It reminds me a little bit of the Speedmaster, the way the lugs are made, and also the side profile. Of course, it's a chunky piece. Also put it on the wrist. So maybe before we come to the Seiko, the sin you won, because this one is on my wrist. It's one of the best purchases of the last couple of years. This is the one with the schwarzer Drehring, which means black bezel, SDR, and yeah, it's a nice watch. I have it on this Breitling textile strap. I also have the metal bracelet for this watch. It's an awesome, robust diver, and it's just a cool piece. I can highly recommend it to try it on. It's not too big. I have a 7-inch wrist, and this watch is just fine. I don't think that you need to get the U50. So back to the Seiko. You can see it on the 7-inch wrist. I won't put all the watches on the wrist because the video might get too long, but you can see on a 7-inch wrist you can totally wear this. It's a beautiful green bezel, green dial piece. What else is there in the Seiko box? We have the Seiko turtle. This is the king turtle with the nice pattern on the dial. You got this waffle pattern, and it's really wearable on this Barton strap, which also has this curvature to it, so it makes this rather big watch very wearable. Then we have actually the highlight of the Seiko collection is the Marine Master 300, the SLA 023. It's, in my opinion, the most beautiful blue you can get on a diver. This watch is made at the Grand Seiko factory. It also has this 8L Grand Seiko movement. It's quite accurate, and the bracelet is a chunky side. It has this very interesting diver's extension, but I don't think this one leaving my collection anytime soon. Then actually I have 3 Seiko 5s, if you will. I have the SKX 009 here, the classical Pepsi version of the SKX. Then I have the Street Fighter limited edition, which is really interesting. This Rio edition, it has this nice texture on the dial. It has this baton markers instead of this round ones. And on the right one, probably one of the hottest releases in 2022, the Seiko GMT with this new Seiko GMT movement. A really cool piece. Really like this hard legs bezel, and it's not clicky. It's just very, very tight, this bezel, and yeah, it's the perfect summer watch, and I like this lineup very much. What else is there? We have the Seiko Shippo Enamel limited edition. It has this enamel dial, which is handmade. The color is put on the dial with a hand, and then it is put in the oven, and you get this result. You also have like small imperfections on the dial, but nevertheless, this is what actually counts with the cheaper kind of enamel. This is the right pronunciation. And yeah, I really like this watch. I had the regular 3-hander, and in the end I went for the one with the circular date and the power reserve. And then is one of the best bangs per buck in my opinion, the SNXS 73. It's a beautiful little watch. It has a very nice sunburst effect dial. It's a relatively cheap bracelet, but it's comfortable. It's not too small, and it glows in the dark like nuts. And yeah, it's the poor man's date chest, or day date actually. So let me put this one back in the box. What else is there in the Seiko department? We have this also a very hot release of 2022, the Seiko Speed Timer reissue. They also released a bigger version right now, but I think this is the sweet spot. It has a quite solid bracelet, and I really like this Golden Panda. I call this one the Golden Panda version. It's a solar movement, so you don't have to think about it. Put it on the wrist, it runs, and the gold is really stands out of the crowd, and it fits way better to the hands, which have some kind of faux patina, than the white dial version. The white dial version, they refer to the watch as the Daytona because of some similarities with the big Rolex brother, but I think this goes very, very good, very, very, very well with the faux patina on the hand. So I would recommend to get the golden dial. So what else is there in the box? Also a watch that belongs more or less to Seiko because it's owned by the Epson Corporation, the Orient Kano. Many people call it the poor man's Tudor Black Bay. I had the Black Bay with the burgundy bezel, and I tell you, I like this one more. It's way more casual. You see, it's quite thin, even though it's quite large, and it's refined. I really like this brushing, this polishing here. With Rolex and Tudor, you'd only get brushing. Of course, it's a high-end watch, the Tudor, and this is a low-tier piece, but I really like this. I really like the red, and overall the red is not so versatile, so I really don't have to put my money in a watch that I don't wear that often. So there it is, the Citizen ProMaster, also a very classic piece. It's used, the ProMaster, by also the Italian Marine, and they, I think, tested it for 500 meters. It comes with 200 meters water resistance, but I think it can take any kind of beating. And I have this one, the Lume Cookie with the lumed dial, which does not really add to legibility, but it's just fun to see it glowing in the dark, and I think it's best worn on a NATO. And there we have the digital watch in the collection, the Casio Oak, the gray one, and I really like the wearing experience. It's very light. It has a digital display as well as the analog display of the time, and I think you can't go wrong with any of those Casio Oaks. So this is the Japanese divers box. Let's come to some, like, say, oddities in the collection. I have the Siga Design Z series. I somehow wanted to skeletonized watch in the collection, and also tonneau shape case, and this is probably the best bang per buck if you're looking for something like this. It hasn't got a lot of wrist time recently, but I will give it a few more months and see whether this one stays in the collection or not. Then I have another oddball. It's Hindustan Machine Tools HMT watch, and I got curious about those watches when I saw a video by the Your Terrific channel, which is just, by the way, an awesome channel. And yeah, I got 3 or 4 of those. One is worn by my wife on a regular basis, and they're probably Frankenstein watches made of spare parts that are still there, even though the company doesn't exist anymore. But I think they're quite robust, and for 10, 15 bucks or euros, you can't go wrong. And then I always wanted to have a Breitling back in the collection, because this was my, like, say, first expensive piece, the Breitling Chronomatic from 1969. I sold it in 2012, and since then I always wanted to have a Breitling again in the collection, and I went for the Avenger GMT2 because in 2016 I had to decide between the Speedmaster or this one, and I went for the Speedy, and now I, like, say, made the dream come true and also put this one in the collection. It's just classical Breitling style with this markers, and the overall design is very masculine, and I really like the logo with the wings, and yeah, I think this one you can't go wrong. I've put it on an aftermarket suede leather strap, which really fits in my opinion. I also like the Breitling buckle. Also have the steel bracelet for it, which is also awesome but very shiny. Then we come to Rolex. I finally was able to bring a Rolex to the rotation in the collection in 2021, and I went for the Air King, which is now discontinued. This version, I think this is the best version, of course, because I have it. No, just kidding. I don't think putting crown guards on this watch makes any sense at all. It's not a diver's watch. Yes, it is a tool watch, but actually it has some background in the aviation. So aviators' watches don't have crown guards. Okay, this is probably an exemption, but let's be serious. I think this is a real oddball in the Milgauss case with Explorer spare parts, and I think it's going to be collectible, but I really like the wearing experience. It's something different. The case and the bracelet is the best in the business. I think Rolex makes the best bracelets. It's very comfortable, very refined. The tapering is just perfect, and I like the simple clasp. Yeah, it's a very nice piece, and every time I wear it, I know why I wanted it, even though I have to admit, and we all have to be, let's say, honest, that buying those expensive watches is also about somehow distinguishing yourself from others. Not really like to impress others with the things, but it makes you stand out of the crowd, and it makes me happy, and this is why I went for a quite expensive piece. And this is probably the overall classic in the collection, the Speedmaster. It was the outgoing version of the discontinued version with the Hazelite crystal. Have it on the bracelet, have the big box that came with it, and it's just a very, very nice piece that can be dressy. It's toolish, and it has the history behind it. And the last purchase of this year was its natural brother, which is the Seamaster. And I actually almost went for the new one, the white ceramic version, but in the end it was a little bit too chunky for me. And since I'm a kid of the 90s, I experienced a lot of things in the 90s. I was 12 when the Brosnan era was really big. I had to have the Seamaster that was worn by Pierce Brosnan in 3 movies, I guess. The first one was the quartz one, and I went for the automatic one, and it has all, which I really appreciate when it comes to Omega. It's the lug design, which is very refined, and I really like the blue coloring, and I wanted a watch in a, let's say, good condition. This is not perfect, it's far from perfect, has a lot of scratches and everything, bought it used. It came without box and papers, but it came from a reputable seller who is also a watchmaker, so it runs only 1 second fast per day. It's very well regulated, and it's easy to service with an ETA movement. It has a very, to turn at least one bezel in this video, clicky bezel. It glows in the dark very, very nicely, even after, I think it's 16 years old, this watch. And I think this is going to be a really hot collectible within the next years. So this was the state of the collection video of 2023. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any, let's say, question about the watches, if you want to see more watches in details, or any suggestions, what should be the next content in 2023 for this channel, please let me know in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I wish you all the best, a happy new year, a good start in 2023.